The nurse lied. The rain tapped softly against the window, creating a rhythm that matched the erratic beat of my heart. I sat alone on the edge of my bed, staring at the neatly folded dress lying in my lap. Its silky fabric shimmered under the dim glow of my bedroom lamp, the soft pastel color almost mocking me with its promise of freedom and embarrassment all at once. Tonight I was supposed to be normal, just me, but the dress whispered otherwise. It reminded me of the life I'd been hiding, the secret I couldn't share with anyone, not even with Emma, my girlfriend, who I loved more than anything. I'm Alex. By day, I worked in a small but bustling tech firm, coding behind a screen, troubleshooting software bugs, and drowning in a world of logic and order. By night, in the privacy of my own room, I explored a different side of myself, a side that thrived in silk skirts, delicate makeup, and the subtle thrill of high heels clicking against polished floors. I didn't know if it was curiosity, a desire to escape, or something deeper, something I couldn't put into words. But it was a part of me, and it had grown too strong to ignore. Emma knew parts of me. She was my safe place, my confidant. But even she didn't know this. She thought she knew all my quirks, my late-night snacking habits, my obsession with vintage keyboards, my love for rainy nights. But this was untouchable. Every time I imagined her walking through the door and catching me mid-transformation, my chest tightened and my palms sweated. The fear of rejection, of misunderstanding, of losing her, was almost unbearable. And yet, the excitement of being this secret version of myself made me feel alive in ways I hadn't imagined. It had started innocently enough. A borrowed dress from my sister, an experiment in curiosity. One evening, alone in her apartment while she was away, I had slid into the fabric and, for the first time, looked in the mirror, not just at myself, but at who I could be. The reflection staring back was startling, captivating, almost foreign. I had laughed nervously at the sight, adjusted the hem, traced my fingers over the neckline, and for the first time, felt complete. That first taste had been dangerous, intoxicating, and now, months later, I was hooked. Tonight was different, though. I had told Emma I'd be working late at the office, a harmless, white lie that gave me the sanctuary of my room. But the truth was, I had a package arriving from a mysterious online store, a pair of shoes I had ordered weeks ago, the perfect heels to complete my look. I had been waiting for this moment with the patience of someone anticipating a forbidden treat, my mind spinning with possibilities of how I'd look, how I'd feel, and the thrill of keeping it all a secret. I could still remember the nurse, the one who had casually delivered my prescription and had noticed my trembling hands. She had smiled at me, a knowing glint in her eye, and whispered something I didn't fully hear. At the time, I had laughed it off, thinking it was just idle small talk. But deep down, I had felt seen, exposed in a way that was both terrifying and exhilarating. The nurse lied, I thought bitterly to myself, recalling the promise she had made about discretion. Perhaps she didn't mean to lie, but her eyes had betrayed an understanding I wasn't ready to confront. The apartment smelled faintly of vanilla from the candle I had lit earlier, trying to mask the sterile scent of my living space. I ran my fingers over the dress again, feeling its smooth texture, and imagining the way it would drape over my shoulders, accentuate the curves I sometimes pretended didn't exist, and reveal a side of me that no one else could see. My heart raced, not just from desire, but from the underlying fear that tonight might be the night Emma would somehow find out. Despite the anxiety, there was a rhythm to my preparation. First, the dress, carefully laid out, inspected for wrinkles or blemishes. Then, the shoes, gleaming, delicate, and impossibly high. I traced the outline of my legs, thinking about the first time I had walked in heels, wobbling and uncertain, and how that vulnerability had made the triumph of balance all the more intoxicating. I imagined slipping them on now, feeling my posture shift, my confidence rise, and the tension in my body melt into something dangerous and exhilarating. Emma's face popped into my mind, her soft laugh, the way she furrowed her brow when I teased her, the gentle way she brushed my hair out of my eyes. Could she ever understand this side of me? Would she laugh, scold me, or pull me closer with understanding and curiosity? I didn't know, and that uncertainty gnawed at me like a predator waiting in the shadows. I knew I had to be careful. One misstep, one sound, and everything could unravel. As the clock ticked toward 8, the soft ping of the doorbell startled me. My package had arrived. I tore it open with trembling fingers, revealing the shoes in all their delicate glory. They gleamed under the lamp's light, almost daring me to put them on. My pulse quickened, a mix of dread and anticipation. Tonight I would transform. Tonight, I would cross the threshold into a version of myself that only I could see, hidden from the world, yet so intensely real. And yet, a quiet voice in my head whispered a warning. The nurse lied. Not everything will go as planned. The thought sent a shiver down my spine, but I shook it off. The thrill, the temptation, the undeniable urge to become her, the version of me I craved, was too strong. Carefully, I slipped out of my casual clothes, laying them aside like a discarded shell. The dress followed, soft against my skin, warm, alive. I fastened it, adjusted it, smoothed it, until it felt like a second skin. The heels clicked against the wooden floor as I took a tentative step, then another and another. My reflection in the mirror stopped me cold. Who was staring back? Was it Alex or someone else entirely? Someone delicate, intoxicating, and vulnerable, yet brimming with confidence I had never dared to show. I couldn't tell. All I knew was that tonight would change everything, one way or another. The rain outside intensified, drumming against the windows like a heartbeat, and I felt my own pulse echo it. Tonight, I was stepping into the unknown, and there was no turning back. The rain outside had turned into a steady downpour, drumming against the apartment windows like a persistent reminder that the world beyond my room existed, an unpredictable place where secrets could slip through unnoticed cracks. I paced slowly, feeling the unfamiliar weight of the heels beneath my feet. Every step felt exaggerated, almost ritualistic, as though walking this way was a ceremony I had to perform carefully, with precision and grace. My reflection in the mirror both fascinated and terrified me. Who was I now? Alex, yes, but also her, the delicate, feminine version of me I had longed to become in private moments, hidden from the world. I tried to steady my breathing, but each inhale reminded me of the tension knotting my stomach. Emma's voice echoed in my mind, soft but teasing. Alex, what are you up to tonight? I had lied about late work, of course. The truth, my private ritual of transformation, was something I couldn't yet share. And yet, the thought of her finding out, catching me in this vulnerable, exposed state, made my heart thrum with a mixture of fear and excitement I couldn't name. I remembered the nurse again. That brief encounter had felt like a crack in the wall of my secret life. Her eyes, full of something knowing, had lingered on me just long enough to make me feel simultaneously seen and threatened. Discretion is important, she had said, her voice light, but her smile hinted at mischief. I had assumed she meant no harm, yet a seed of doubt had taken root. What if she hadn't been honest? What if tonight, in some unexpected twist, the world outside my door intruded into my sanctuary? Shaking my head, I focused on the moment. Tonight was about me, about her, the version of me I could finally indulge. The dress clung to my frame, soft and unyielding, highlighting curves I had only recently begun to acknowledge. My hands trembled slightly as I smoothed the fabric over my shoulders, feeling it settle, almost like it recognized me, embraced me. Then came the makeup, delicate brushes tracing lines over my face, transforming me stroke by stroke. Concealer softened my jaw, blush painted warmth on my cheeks, and mascara made my eyes feel larger, more alive. Every motion was a mix of reverence and urgency, as though I feared the transformation might somehow be undone before it was complete. The heels were the final piece. I had been practicing for weeks, mastering the subtle shift in balance, the way each step demanded both caution and confidence. Sliding my feet into the shoes, I felt an instant change in posture, a subtle but undeniable shift in how I carried myself. I was taller, yes, but more than that, I felt poised, ready, transformed. The world outside my bedroom walls had not yet intruded, but my own mind was a battlefield of anticipation and fear. Then came the first knock. Not the soft ping of a package delivery, but deliberate, sharp, echoing against the doorframe. My pulse spiked. Emma? No, she couldn't be home yet. I hadn't expected anyone. Slowly, cautiously, I approached the door, each step measured in heels, the dress swaying slightly with every movement. Through the peephole, I saw nothing, just the empty hallway, wet and glistening from the rain. My relief was brief. The silence that followed was oppressive, a quiet that seemed to hum with the possibility of discovery. I returned to the mirror, examining every detail of my transformation. The reflection staring back was both thrilling and alien. The face, delicate and refined, seemed almost to mock the Alex I used to be. But there was power in this vulnerability, a quiet dominance in the act of embracing a side of myself the world would never see. Yet beneath the thrill, fear lingered. What if Emma returned early? What if a neighbor or even the nurse somehow saw me like this? My pulse raced at the thought, a heady combination of dread and excitement. Hours passed, or at least it felt like hours. I moved around the apartment with cautious elegance, pretending to engage in ordinary tasks, arranging books, straightening cushions, even adjusting the candle that flickered softly on the table. But every shadow, every shift of light, seemed charged with threat. My mind wandered back to the nurse, the lie I suspected in her words. Was she really as innocent as she seemed? Or had she seen through me, knowing exactly what I was hiding? The uncertainty gnawed at me, a shadow creeping along the edges of my excitement. I tried to push the thought away. The thrill of this secret life, the beauty of my transformation, demanded my focus. I practiced walking, spinning subtly in front of the mirror, adjusting the dress to feel perfect. The sensation of the fabric against my skin, the rhythm of the heels, and the way my reflection smiled back at me created a heady cocktail of vulnerability and exhilaration. Every small movement, turning my head to see the wig fall just right, tucking a strand of hair behind my ear, adjusting the hem of the skirt, was charged with emotion. And then, another sound, the soft rustle of something outside my door, faint but unmistakable. My breath caught. My mind raced through possibilities. Emma? A delivery? The nurse, perhaps, though why would she appear unannounced? I froze, heart hammering, listening intently. The sound faded, leaving an echoing silence that pressed against my ears. I returned to the mirror, forcing calm, but inside, a storm raged. The thrill of crossdressing had always been intertwined with danger, but tonight, the danger felt closer, sharper. I perched on the edge of my bed, fingers tracing the contours of the dress, heels dangling slightly from my toes. The exhilaration of the secret, of being someone else entirely, competed with the gnawing fear of discovery. The nurse's lie, or her perceived lie, loomed over me, a shadow that threatened to unravel my sanctuary. I reminded myself that this was my choice, my escape, my ritual of self-expression. Yet the uncertainty lingered, a question mark over every step, every movement, every glance in the mirror. Minutes later, the package arrived, another one I hadn't expected until the next day. I tore it open with shaking hands. Inside were accessories, delicate earrings, a bracelet, and a hairpin that gleamed like liquid silver under the lamp. I fastened the earrings, letting them sway gently, enhancing the delicate femininity I had sculpted over the past hour. The bracelet hugged my wrist like a promise, a tangible symbol of transformation. Each small addition heightened the thrill, the exhilaration, and the fear. I practiced walking again, this time circling the apartment, imagining eyes upon me, imagining the possibility of discovery. I felt the duality of my existence more acutely than ever. Alex, hidden behind a veil of elegance, vulnerability, and feminine grace. The thrill was intoxicating, yet fragile. One knock, one sound, one glance, and the delicate balance could shatter. Hours stretched, and the apartment grew quieter. The rain's rhythm became almost hypnotic, a lullaby laced with tension. I perched near the window, looking out at the slick streets below, imagining what it would feel like if the world outside could see me now. Could they understand? Would they judge? Or would they simply look and wonder, just as I had wondered, about the person staring back at me in the mirror? And then, the sound came again, a soft, deliberate knock, closer, heavier this time. My heart leapt. The thrill of secrecy collided with raw panic. I held my breath, frozen, as the possibility of exposure loomed nearer than ever. Tonight, nothing would be ordinary. Tonight, the nurse's lie, or the truth behind it, would cast a shadow over everything I had carefully crafted. I gripped the edge of the dress, feeling the silky fabric in my hands, and whispered to myself, I can handle this. I have to. I'm ready. And with that, the first real test began. The knock at the door had been deliberate, echoing in my ears like a drumbeat of impending doom. My pulse raced, heels clicking sharply against the floor as I approached, each step sending shivers of both fear and excitement through me. The apartment felt suddenly smaller, the walls pressing inward, as though conspiring with the rain outside to amplify my anxiety. I gripped the edge of the table, steadying myself as I peeked through the peephole. A shadow lingered in the hallway, indistinct in the dim lighting. My first thought, Emma, was quickly replaced by uncertainty. No familiar figure, no recognizable shape, just movement. My breath caught in my throat. My hands shook, not from the heels beneath my feet, but from the tension building inside me. I had played this scenario over and over in my mind, but nothing had prepared me for the reality of it. Someone at my door, at this very moment, with the power to see me exactly as I was. Slowly, cautiously, I reached for the door handle. The metal was cold under my trembling fingers. My reflection in the hallway mirror caught my eye before I opened it, a perfect, feminine version of myself, poised yet vulnerable and utterly unprepared for what was coming. I felt a pang of fear, realizing that in this form I was exposed, fragile, and entirely at the mercy of whoever was on the other side. I opened the door slightly, just enough to peer through, and froze. It wasn't Emma. It wasn't a neighbor. It was the nurse, the one whose casual smile had planted both comfort and doubt in my mind weeks ago. She stood there, her expression unreadable, holding a clipboard and a small package. "Evening, Alex," she said softly, her voice calm but carrying an undertone that made my skin prickle. I thought I dropped something off personally. My heart pounded. Thanks," I managed, my voice cracking slightly. I forced a smile, hoping it appeared natural, though I doubted it. The nurse's eyes, sharp and knowing, flicked over my form, lingering a second too long on my dress, the heels, the subtle shimmer of makeup. My stomach twisted. Had she known all along? Had she been lying about discretion? The fear I had tried to push aside returned with full force, wrapping around me like a vice. She stepped closer, casually, as if she had every right to be in my space. "You've been experimenting," she said, her tone almost teasing, yet undeniably serious. "I can see it. I just hope you're ready for what comes next." I swallowed hard, panic and exhilaration warring in my chest. I don't understand," I whispered. But the words felt hollow, even to me. I knew she understood perfectly. My secret, my transformation, my vulnerability, all of it was laid bare under her gaze. The nurse smiled faintly, placing the package on my table. "Consider this guidance," she said cryptically, before turning and leaving as quietly as she had arrived. The click of the door echoed behind her, leaving me trembling in her absence. I opened the package, revealing a note inside. "The choice is yours, Alex. Embrace her or hide. But know this. Once you step further, there's no turning back." My hands shook as I read the words, the thrill of secrecy now tangled with raw fear. I glanced at my reflection again. Who was I, really? Alex? Or her? The delicate version of myself I had meticulously constructed over the past hours? The heels beneath my feet, the dress hugging every curve, the makeup highlighting features I had only just begun to love. Everything screamed transformation. And yet, the note's warning pressed down on me like a storm cloud. I sat on the edge of the bed, head in my hands, struggling to calm my racing thoughts. The nurse's appearance had thrown me off balance. What if Emma returned early? What if the world outside my sanctuary discovered this side of me before I was ready? Every scenario played in my mind, each more terrifying than the last. And yet, the thrill of being seen, of being understood even briefly, gnawed at me, urging me to go further, to embrace the transformation fully, to step beyond the fear. Minutes or hours passed. The rain outside softened, leaving a quiet tension in its wake. I stood, heels clicking against the floor, dress swaying gently, and moved toward the mirror. The reflection staring back was both exhilarating and terrifying. I traced my fingers over my cheek, down my arm, the fabric of the dress smooth beneath my touch. I had become her, completely, undeniably. And with that realization came a new surge of determination. If the nurse could see me, perhaps the world could, too. But the stakes were higher than ever. Suddenly, the soft sound of a key turning in the lock shattered my fragile composure. My heart leapt. Emma? My mind raced. I had no time to change, no time to hide the evidence of my transformation. I was frozen, every muscle tensed, as the door slowly creaked open. And then, Alex. Emma's voice called softly, uncertain. My stomach twisted, panic rising like a tidal wave. Are you okay? I swallowed hard, trying to steady my voice. Yeah, I'm fine. I managed, though the words felt like a lie. Emma stepped into the room, her eyes scanning the space. And then she saw me, her eyes widening slightly as they landed on the dress, the heels, the makeup. Silence stretched between us, heavy and electric, until finally she spoke. You look different, she said, a mix of surprise, curiosity, and something unreadable in her tone. My heart raced. This was it, the moment of truth. My secret was out, and the consequences were entirely unknown. I swallowed, my mind scrambling for words. I can explain, I stammered, stepping closer, heels clicking softly. Emma tilted her head, her gaze unwavering. I didn't mean for you to see me like this. It's just me. A different me. Her expression softened slightly, but the tension didn't leave the room. Alex, why didn't you tell me? She asked, her voice gentle but firm. My chest tightened. The fear of rejection, of misunderstanding, of losing her, pressed down like a physical weight. I didn't know how, I admitted, voice trembling. I was scared of what you'd think, of what anyone would think. But I can't hide this part of me anymore. I needed to see if I could be her, just for a little while. Emma's eyes searched mine, and in that gaze, I saw a mix of emotions, confusion, concern, and something else, something I hadn't expected. Understanding. You've been hiding this from me, she said softly. But I think I can try to understand. Tell me everything. Relief and fear collided in my chest. I nodded, stepping closer, the heels clicking against the floor with deliberate confidence. I told her everything. The borrowed dress, the nights spent experimenting, the thrill, the fear, the nurse's cryptic words. And as I spoke, Emma listened, her presence a steady anchor amidst the storm of my emotions. Just as I finished, another knock rang through the apartment, sharp and insistent. My heart froze. Who now? The nurse? A neighbor? Someone else? The moment of intimacy, of potential understanding, hung suspended in the air as I stepped toward the door, uncertain, vulnerable, and utterly exposed. Emma reached for my hand, her touch grounding me. Whatever happens, she whispered, we'll face it together. But the knock came again, louder this time, a harbinger of the next twist in a night already filled with suspense. My reflection in the hallway mirror caught my eye, her reflection, the transformed Alex, poised yet vulnerable, caught between fear and exhilaration. And in that moment, I knew that nothing would ever be the same again. The choice loomed before me: open the door and confront the unknown, or retreat into the safety of secrecy. My pulse raced, every nerve alive with anticipation. The nurse's lie, the transformation, Emma's presence, all converged in a single, electric moment of suspense. One step, one decision, and the night's outcome would be sealed. I reached for the handle, fingers trembling, and paused. The world held its breath. The knock at the door came again, sharper this time, each rap echoing like a hammer striking the fragile rhythm of my heart. I froze, heels clicking lightly against the floor as my breath hitched. Emma's hand found mine, warm and grounding, but even her presence couldn't fully steady the storm raging inside me. My reflection in the hallway mirror, her reflection, the transformed Alex, stared back at me, poised and vulnerable at the same time. "Alex, what now?" Emma whispered, her voice barely audible over the pounding of my pulse. Her grip on my hand was gentle but firm, a lifeline in the midst of chaos. I swallowed, mind racing through every possible scenario. The nurse? A neighbor? Someone else entirely? Whoever it was, there was no time to prepare, no room to hide. My secret, painstakingly nurtured for months, teetered on the edge of exposure. I took a shaky step toward the door, heels clicking against the hardwood, my dress swaying with each movement. The knock came again, almost impatient this time, and I realized there was no turning back. Whoever stood outside had already intruded into my sanctuary. With a deep breath, I reached for the handle. Emma squeezed my hand, her eyes searching mine. "Whatever happens, we face it together," she murmured. I nodded, though my heart raced, pounding like a war drum in my chest. My fingers curled around the doorknob, cold metal against skin, and I paused, knowing this moment could change everything. The door creaked open slowly, and the hallway light spilled into the apartment. But the space was empty. My pulse faltered. Relief surged, brief, fleeting, until I noticed a small envelope lying on the floor, just inside the doorway. I bent down, picking it up with trembling hands. The envelope was plain, unmarked, yet it carried an unmistakable weight, as if the paper itself whispered secrets I wasn't ready to hear. Emma tilted her head, curiosity and concern mingling in her expression. "What is it?" she asked softly. I hesitated, fingers brushing over the seal. I don't know," I admitted. Slowly, carefully, I opened it, revealing a single piece of paper. My breath caught as I read the words, written in neat, almost clinical handwriting. "Alex, we know. The game has begun. Every choice you make now matters. She is watching." My hands shook. She? I whispered, voice barely audible. The words struck me like lightning, the meaning unclear but terrifyingly precise. The nurse. She had lied, as I had feared, and now someone, or perhaps she herself, was watching, orchestrating some unknown test or challenge. Every step I had taken in secrecy, every transformation, had been observed. The thrill, the excitement, the vulnerability, it was no longer mine alone. Emma's grip tightened. "Who wrote this?" she asked, voice laced with tension. I shook my head, unable to answer. "I don't know, but it's from her. The nurse. She lied to me, Emma. She knew everything all along." My eyes darted to the hallway, the shadows seeming to shift, almost alive, as if anticipating my next move. The heels beneath my feet felt suddenly heavier, my dress tighter, and the makeup on my face almost suffocating. I was exposed, not just to Emma, but to an unseen presence, a mysterious force that had infiltrated my carefully controlled world. The exhilaration of transformation, once so intoxicating, now mingled with raw fear. Every instinct screamed at me to hide, to retreat, yet something deeper urged me to confront it, to embrace the chaos as fully as I had embraced my own reflection. Emma leaned closer, her voice gentle but insistent. "Alex, we can handle this. Together. Whatever it is, we face it. "You're not alone." Her words were a lifeline, but they also highlighted my vulnerability. I had built this secret world, crafted this identity, and now it was under threat. Could I protect it? Could I protect us? Another sound cut through the tension, a faint rustle from the hallway, almost imperceptible, but enough to make my pulse spike again. I turned slightly, heels clicking softly, dress swaying with emotion. Shadows danced along the walls. I felt exposed, every nerve alive, caught between fear and exhilaration, between who I was and who I had become. The note trembled in my hand as I realized the implications. The nurse's lie wasn't just a betrayal, it was an invitation. An invitation to step further into this secret life, or risk losing it entirely. Every choice from this point on would be charged with risk, every movement scrutinized. The thrill of crossdressing, the freedom, the excitement, had always carried danger, but now the stakes were higher than ever. Emma watched me, eyes wide with curiosity and concern. "Alex, what do we do?" Her question hung in the air, echoing against the walls, mingling with the soft patter of rain still falling outside. I looked at my reflection one last time, the delicate, transformed version of myself, poised and trembling, vulnerable yet defiant. A surge of determination coursed through me. I had come this far, embraced this side of myself, and I wasn't about to retreat. Not yet. But the envelope, the note, the unseen presence waiting in the shadows, it was clear that tonight was only the beginning. The nurse had lied. And now, I had no idea how deep the game would go. I took a deep breath, clutching Emma's hand tightly, and whispered, almost to myself, "We'll face it. Whatever comes next, we face it." And with that, the apartment fell into tense, expectant silence. Outside, the hallway remained empty, yet the threat lingered, unseen but undeniable. I knew one thing for certain. The night was far from over, and the choices I made in the next moments would change everything. The camera would fade, leaving viewers on the edge of their seats, hearts racing, minds racing. Who was watching? What would the nurse do next? And most importantly, what would happen when the next knock came?